need my. Tell me if I need my. Tell me if I need my. In the winter they charge for heat. In the summer they charge for cold. Food stamps still hard to eat. Insurance now they charge for souls, huh? Well, that's the way they roll. You can tell a snake by the way they fold. You can tell a slave by the way they roll. Instead of jumping on the noose just to hang they gold, huh? If you don't get it, I'll break it down different. Fighting for souls and I'm planning on winning. I do not care Willie Lynch got me tripping. My mental is different. I'm built like a Christian. The Holy Ghost in me. Yeah, we got my sixes. This war full of souls with a great cloud of witness. That's how it is when you hear this. You holy feels get your ears bit by sound waves with the realist. Like Mike Tyson and real fists. I'm Mike fighting with quill pins and arrows and quivers. I gotta narrow my vision. It's like a real gift. If we in a battle for living to get the capitalism of selling souls, and I can't quit. Yeah, I be fighting for my soul. So tell me if I need that. Every day I be fighting for my soul. So I don't wanna relapse. Man, that's where they got me fighting for my soul. So telling me to relax. Chocolate baby. They say that I'm crazy. I'm just a broken down. First they love you, but then they hate you. Wherever this road may take you, just make sure that it don't break you down. And I got a blick fool. This place got me pacing and patient, and I know my place, but this Satan will try to break you down. Yeah, and beyond the spoken sound, these oracles turn your audio automobile up these millions off this audio building my ceiling. I'm still in these dealings with how I'm living. This script of wisdom so vivid, mission to break you. Nigga, let me get a breather. I seen a diva who's kingdom bossing, and I think I need her. My life's a toss-up, I've been a monster, and I know she's Xena. Who split the eyes up, they said I'm Gaza, so I Hercules her. But it hurts to leave her. I got a purpose, but personally I'm imperfect. My past will hurt you like pins and needles. The dream is perfect, I seen it working, and it's woven between the sheets of this paper. Beholding people, I break it. Know what I'm saying? I hope y'all can get that. And again, and again, and again. So let's begin. Yeah. Broken pieces, broken dreams, and soaking sheets, and she reach her peak and I break it down. Let me earn my check. Let me get this cheese. Let me get respect. Forget my ex. Let me burn my trees. Tell her hey to eject. My demolition is set. I'ma burn them on 3 cause London Bridge is falling down. London Bridge. Yeah, yeah. London Bridge. London Bridge. London Bridge is falling down. London Bridge. Yeah, yeah. London Bridge. It's hot, right? London Bridge. Yeah, it's a blessing to be a blessing. You move and aggressive, and with abuse and abuse the tool, bless the use as a weapon. Don't question, say it plenty if you catch it. Mine gone with the plenty here to listen. My song burning any picture nothing. Why? So serious I'm laughing. Ha ha. Nah, I'm here now. Vision looking clear, smoking in the air now. Like the book of bridge finally appear now. You're a villain just caught up in my web sound. Like up one, down, any other one hanging on the move you out. Like bus come, use the hound. The finger plus I become the shooter now. Let me earn my check. Let me get this cheese. Let me get respect and forget my ex. Let me burn my trees. Tell her hey to eject. My demolition is set. I'ma burn them on 3 cause London Bridge is falling down. London Bridge. Y'all know y'all got a few London Bridges in there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like that. Y'all can definitely hit the. You know what I'm saying? London Bridge. People you need to cut off. You know what I'm saying? London Bridge. I do. American children we dealing. Metaphor cannibalism, better for capitalism. Let us react, Willie Lynch, and we in a lion den. This rise semi upset, so the fires give me feel to be a threat. Silence speaks plenty. I'm quiet. Let the beast roar until I'm crying. Not to be violent, I'm angry. Earth lost another client. They dying, and hell's hiring. Heaven's on welfare, the church stopped buying them. Yo, this is more than a song, deeper than music, more than a wrong. People we grew in the field rooted with strange fruit. Let the media choose it to hang loose, cover the same news. I mean nooses. Dang, it's like nothing here will change. It took a Malcolm X to see the toughness in the king we bring. Everything that we bring, and every day that we sing, let the song cross or play another song, huh?
Check. Yo. Check, check. NaTRILL. Siphon energy from the air and the ether. Respect the elements like my name was a reader. Cast a circle at my candles and get hot as a fever. Spirit don't care where it manifests and I don't either. So turn this up. Sandstorm's down, getting into everything exposed. You close your nose and brain and then I'm taking control. Just so you know it's in possession of the soul. Part of yours gets put away for a while. Let it go, let it flow. I show you motherfucker, you in the God's grip. This fish is all ripped out the frame for this vision trip. Like savage if you norm, I'm just fighting the score from the way your bones lay after your body gets scorched. Torture motherfuckers with the heavenly flame. The fire sanctifies you and you're never the same. Enlightened or deranged, either way you've changed. You start to see the world different after you get untamed. Feral, not docile at all. The ancestors and the law want you to stand tall. Do you hear it? Yeah, it's the drums of ancient ones beating in your chest. Deeper than all the rest, savage is what it gets called. We colonize Western minds, but their thinking is flawed. Propagated by corrupt capitalists, conquerors that commit atrocities, blaspheming their own gods. Do you hear it? Yeah, it's the drums of ancient ones beating in your chest like ba-boom, 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 boom, boom. Divinity has entered the room, soon you're consumed by strange yet familiar tunes. It's something rolling on the rhythm and it's burning inside. You think you're going insane and no one gets it, but I do. It's natural, just might not make sense yet. You still got brainwashed and slosh around in your head, telling you it's devils that revel in the mysteries instead of your ancestors whispering the universal secrets of divinity. You're sure to see the matrices of lies you learn. History don't depress you yet, just fucking wait your turn. There's red in every legend, and what Malcolm says is truth about reaping what you sow, and chickens coming over the roots. Yeah. Woo. Natural. Ready with the machete, check my butcher's cut. Ready with the machete, I ain't letting up. Ready with the machete, check my butcher's cut. Ready with the machete, I get disaster rust. Ready with the machete, check my butcher's cut. Ready with the machete, I ain't letting up. Ready with the machete, check my butcher's cut. Ready with the machete, shink. Untouchably hot, don't care if you like it or not. I've been cooking the sickest of recipes in my pot. Seasoned with the best ingredients from all different styles. Flavor is amazing, smell low will make you go wild. Dig in, I'm a revolution that's about to begin. The words no more, rising from oppressed citizens. Secret voodoo ceremony before the Haitian revolution. Ogu, please give us strength. Who says religion's useless? Spirits, I beseech you while I'm still lucid. I see so many evil masters that still need executing. From elected officials, the industry's inherited through nepotism. The sickness is spreading like cancer in the system. I'ma go NaTRILL on these fucking chumps. Swinging my machetes, leaving bloody stumps. Vengeance is my mission, survival not so much. Explosive strapped to my chest and I got you in my clutch. What? Ready with the machete, check my butcher's cut. Ready with the machete, I ain't letting up. Ready with the machete, check my butcher's cut. Ready with the machete, I get disaster rust. Ready with the machete, check my butcher's cut. Ready with the machete, I ain't letting up. Ready with the machete, check my butcher's cut. Ready with the machete, I get disaster rust. Yeah, hell is hot, and there's always some niggas wanna get what you got. So protect your neck, like in the scriptures of Vodou. But don't you ever forget, protect your third eye too. Cause by now some of us know how those in control do. If you fuck with Malcolm, Huey or Pop, they might come for you. Something out of nothing, that's what all this is. Hip hop is spirit manifested. Nature hates a vacuum, and that's the truth. That's why I spit this ether in the booth, y'all. Something out of nothing, that's what all this is. Hip hop rap, but it's with the long march, yeah. Something out of nothing, that's what all this is. Hip-hop is spirit that's manifested. Nature hates a vacuum, and that's the truth. That's why I spit this ether in the booth, yo. It's something out of nothing, that's what all this is. Hip-hop is spirit that's manifested. Nature hates a vacuum, and that's the truth. That's why I spit this ether in the booth, yo.
Interested in putting something together for Juneteenth, and I've never done anything like this, so I was very eager to. And already we've had different artists and musicians that wanted to collaborate and contribute. We've got some people that contributed some art and prints. Like those prints over there are prints that Mr. Joe actually made way back in the day. It's pretty cool, yeah. Those large prints, Malcolm X and Fred Hampton there. The sequin art is by our own Sky of Harriet Tubman, and she sent that down for us to have as a part of the altar that we were doing, dedicating. Yeah, so we've got a lot of people contributing wonderful things, which I'm really, really happy about, because what I wanted to accomplish with this was really just get the spirit or the current of it, which encompasses a lot of things. It encompasses different slave revolutions, like those led by Nat Turner and the black and white picture up top on the frame over there. It goes into, you know, the Haitian Revolution very specifically, and just the spirit of revolution and survival. But with that resistance also having an innate knowing of the divinity that rests inside you, and that you are worth this liberation and this freedom that you seek to achieve, you know, like, and that inner knowing is really something that has guided and kept a lot of these spirits alive, because that, like, knowing of your own self-worth and stuff, and keeping these, specifically the history of Vodou, these African spirits alive, that's really what kept a lot of these people going, and, you know, still does, really. I feel very strongly a lot of these spirits that came over, you know, still alive, but definitely in a city like New Orleans, you know, where, you know, the spirit of surviving and playing music through messed up times or tragedies or natural disasters is so important and vital, you know? So, with that being said, I actually had a couple things on these altars that I wanted to direct your attention to. One is this silver bowl that we got over here. Now, silver is metaphysically purifying, and I got water from the Mississippi River. So I gathered that water as kind of a way to honor those that perished along the path and the countless unnamed victims of the transatlantic slave trade. We've got tea lights in there that I would like to light and have present for the ceremony, and then at the end of it I'm going to be returning the water to the Mississippi. I also have an altar over here set up with these glasses of water and the candle at the head with some things from my own personal ancestors. Like, one is a picture from Okinawa, another one's a knife from my granddaddy. If y'all have offerings appropriate for your own specific ancestors, please feel free to place that there. But along with that, I had this other thing that I wanted to bring up about ancestors, because one thing that we had placed on there was about spiritual reparations. So my grandma's cousin did a DNA test that came back, and it had English, French, and Irish blood in it. And knowing my direct relatives and stuff like that, that entered our bloodline through transatlantic slave trade, you know, is a reality. And that's something that is not unique to me. That's what a lot of black Americans have. But if you think about it in terms of like ancestor worship and stuff, that means that within myself, I actually have in my ancestry slave owners, right? So acknowledging that and also forgiving that is also not just part of understanding where we are at racially, but also a part of myself. So one of my intentions for that altar today actually is directing that kind of forgiveness for my own direct ancestors and the part that they had in it, because, you know, if I deny that that's a part of myself, that becomes a part of my shadow, which is, I think, a lot of what this country is facing, the shadow from not dealing with things, right? And we also have some soil that I collected from Jackson Square, specifically because Jackson Square was where Saint Maroon was hanged on Juneteenth. And I've got some soil in this gobi jar on altar that Denise wonderfully put together for us. And then I just directed a lot of energy towards the forgiveness and just imagining that scene. And with that being said, I'd like to bring Denise up to say a few words about Saint Maroon. Explain that, please.
Thank you. Jean Saint Malo was a enslaved. There were no slaves brought from Africa. There were people brought from Africa who happened to be enslaved. And he planned, plotted, and executed his self-emancipation. And there's nothing I love more than a revolutionary. And he not only planned, plotted, and executed his own revolution, but he set up community, what is in New Orleans East right now, close to St. Bernard Parish, Lake Bourne, in that area, when it was still a swamp, and whole families would actually run away and join this Maroon community. The word Maroon actually comes from Spanish cimarron. And so these Maroon communities were supported by free people of color, and many times one family member would remain enslaved in order to support the runaway community. So they had a support system on plantations that helped them survive away from there, being enslaved. But there were men, women, and children, and the altar has oysters on it, which are pure protein. I have a chain, which was probably, something that they would have had dragging if they, were enslaved, and fishing things. Of course, we're not going anywhere as West Africans. We're not going anywhere without rice. We would actually braid rice in our hair. And one of the very first two slave ships that arrived in 1718 had barrels of rice on it, because West Africans are rice producers. We had the knowledge to grow rice in water. Rice was here, but we had the knowledge to grow rice in water. So the Geechee people of the Carolinas and local New Orleanians with long ancestry here like mine, they brought them here, and what we would do was we knew how to drain a field, put up dams, plant the rice, and then flood the field. Even today it is done the same way, and it was extremely dangerous with water moccasins, bacteria. You could die if you had a cut on you while you were planting rice in this water, and also human waste was in the water. And so it was very dangerous, not only physically, but it was dangerous psychologically. You got to think about the fear that these people lived under at all times. There are two things that we grow in rice. We grow the rice, and did you know that if you eat crawfish, it's most likely has come from a rice field? We seed rice fields with crawfish. We sow the harvest the crawfish, and then drain the field and harvest the rice. So Jean Saint Malo had, it was through treachery that most people are caught. When somebody was caught going back to the Maroon community, they were tortured, and of course they gave up the whole community. Jackson Square is where they put his head on a pike. Remember, you cannot have slavery without terrorism. The two things work hand in hand. One of the reasons they would cut your head off if you were a revolutionary and put it on a pike is because to normal people that is such a shocking and horrific act that it would make people think twice about running away. Well, Louisiana, I can promise you, is a revolutionary, has a revolutionary society. The 1811 slave revolt is the largest revolt in this country. And also, they tried to outlaw the Haitians from coming here. So when the Haitian Revolution took place, women were involved in that too. Cecile Fatime actually did the Vodou ceremony with Duddy Bookman, cut the throat of a black pig and bathed them in it. So Vodou is in our foundation, revolution is in our foundation, and it's not by accident that we're all here on this day. So thank you very much for the invitation.
We come from a lineage that was passed down to us through Sally Ann, through Papa Edgar, and if she's willing to, I'd like her to speak a few words about Papa Edgar.
You know how much I love public speaking, especially with him. So, I'll just describe to you meeting Edgar Jean-Louis in Port-au-Prince in his neighborhood of Bel Air in 1995. And I was in the back seat of my friend's sports car being driven to my initiation. And I was trying to discern what were actual buildings from what was rubble on the side of the street, and I just couldn't figure out where the houses were. It's that blasted of a neighborhood and neglected of a neighborhood. And while I'm trying to figure that out, this incredibly tall, very dark man, very skinny, with high cheekbones and glittery eyes, kind of folded himself down into the seat next to me. And I took one look at him, and I knew my life was changing and that this person would never be out of my mind ever again. And he was probably the first and only spiritual leader that I have known who not only never disappointed me, but kept me on track in my life. He handed me a different kind of morality and purpose and a different focus in my life. He often said to me that he was going to give me everything he knew. And I just thought, what an extraordinary gift and what an extraordinary old man this was. He was also incredibly funny and able to adapt. He was mightily resilient. He had been through both Papa Docs. He'd been through U.S. invasions of Haiti. He'd been through anti-superstition campaigns when temples were burnt and drums were burnt and Vodou priests and guns and mambos were murdered. That happened as recently as in the aftermath of the earthquakes in Haiti. He was a light to the world, and he had a window open to the world. He traveled not only back and forth here, and I went there and stayed with him in his temple. I can't tell you how many times during a ceremony that Edgar was leading that you would hear people shouting, "Edgar, Edgar!" Everybody wanted his attention. And just one other little tale about Edgar that I think is very telling. We were walking through Bel Air together, and there was a little girl standing on the far corner. And this girl had absolutely nothing. She was dressed in filthy rags. She had orange hair from malnutrition, and a bloated belly from malnutrition. I knew that she had nothing, and that it occurred to me that this girl is never going to get out of Bel Air, Port-au-Prince. And Edgar walked over to her, and he was like 7 feet tall, and he bent down and took her two hands in his, and this girl's face lit up, and he told her how beautiful she looked, and he asked after her family. And all I could think was, this is spirit coming before anybody, the supposedly least of us, and paying attention and telling this child that she was beautiful and sacred in the light of the spirit. And even though she would never get out of Bel Air, most likely, she would carry that with her in the flame of her life. And that was Edgar. He would do that for anybody. He was delighted to see you always. He let you know. He was not afraid to show how he felt about you. He gave guidance and direction and resources to hundreds and thousands of people. And it was a blessing in my life and in the life of this house. I know Greta knew him personally. Gary knew him personally. He's somebody you never forget, and you just give thanks to the universe that he crossed your path and you were allowed to be there to receive that kind of truly unconditional love. Beautiful person.
Luis was his birth name. He was born in Jacmel, which is on the southern coast of Haiti. I've heard it's a beautiful place. I've never been there. Have you guys been to Jacmel? You've been there? It's beautiful. And then he moved to Port-au-Prince as a young man, and then moved to the United States as a still a young man. And I studied with him for about a decade and went and initiated with him, under him. So Father's Day is a great time for me to think about Papa Fonfon because he's my second Papa. And believe it or not, Papa Fonfon's birthday is June 19th on Monday. And he had different birthdays on his passports and his legal documents, but I remember conversations that we had in his last few days where he was telling me the real shit, and his birthday is June 19th. So happy birthday also, and happy Father's Day to Papa Fonfon. And I am always lifelong a student and interested learner. That's what I am. So it's also really a privilege and pleasure to be playing with Wheelie and Max and William and also Xavier. These three are from Haiti, and Xavier is from right here in New Orleans, an amazing musician of such a wide variety of abilities.